Hello, everyone. Welcome back to a very special episode, one that Steve and I have been looking forward to putting into function. It's going to be episode number 10 of our Behind Enemy Lines podcast. And in honor of number 10, what better way to do that than honor our favorite player, Mr. Guy Lafleur?
Yes, a special episode for sure. As we sit here and brainstorm and co-host this thing over the course of episodes in past and hopefully future ones to come, we'll pay tribute from time to time on certain milestone events or players in general. And like you said, episode 10, the most famous guy to wear number 10, the flower. Again, we grew up in an era where Guy was the man, so we'll dive into Guy Lafleur today, and it'll be exciting. So, welcome to everybody that's been following us. We appreciate the love and support. It's been great, and let's go.
Okay, on that note, just a quick breakdown of what we're going to do today. We're going to do, as always, our trivia. We're going to do a game breakdown of Buffalo versus the Habs. And then we'll do a quick preview of Calgary game, which starts a road trip for us. And then we're going to get into everything all Guy all the time. We're going to talk about our favorite memories, different things that we like about him, and different experiences, things he's accomplished. I mean, we all know his several uh, career stats, but we're going to dive a little deeper, more into probably more of a personal angle, I think is a better way to explain it. So, on that note, I'm going to let Steve, as usual, take off with today's trivia.
So, we'll keep it simple. Guy Lafleur played in the NHL, spanned a very nice career, had a little bit of a hiatus. But how many teams did Guy Lafleur play for? Some people might not know he came back and made a comeback, but how many teams did Guy Lafleur play for?
Okay, good question. Good question. So what we'll do now, we'll do, I guess, do it just chronological. We'll start with the breakdown of the Buffalo Sabres game, which we ended up winning. And it was actually a pretty exciting game, Steve. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, we got off to a great start. We talked about where we were and coming off a loss to the Rangers. You want to get a bounce back, a rebound game of sort, and you want to carry your good habits over and hopefully lose the bad habits. I thought we were very effective in the game overall. We had a great start to the first period, and with that, we got a lead. And again, I think we play better with a lead. I think we play a little bit loose. When the guys are playing with a lead, they tend to be ultra creative rather than, the proverbial gripping the stick too tight. And we got off the first period was very dominant. Again, Jakob Dobish back in the crease for the game, which was no surprise, and he earned every bit of it in that
Mhm.
game. First period was fantastic. Outshot the Sabres, outscored the Sabres, and again looked like a team that was out there having fun.
Yeah.
Truly.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just gonna just bang off a few quick stats from the game. I mean, as we all know now, it was a 4-2 win for Montreal. Um, Few things I thought were interesting. Slavkovsky was actually the first star of the game. Had a goal, 17 minutes, 17 seconds total ice time. Played very well, played a hard game, played a physical game, was involved uh, on all ends and all sides of the sheet. Um, Dobesh had a 935 save percentage, 2 goals against, which still gives him a sub 2 goals against average for the year. Again, small sample, only 3 games. But, every game you're adding on, his numbers stay the same. So I'm not really expecting those numbers to change at game 3, game 10, game 20. I expect that it stays the same. Um, One last thing about the game, Kapanen scored again, his fourth goal. And as a real quick side note to that, he's actually leading all rookies in goals right now.
Yes, and I mean, unfortunately, with the 4 goals, he's got no helpers. Selfish prick. Um, he's got 4 goals, and we didn't know what to expect from him, so he's finding the net. I think he does lead all rookies with total goals in four. And Demidov, we'll give a shout out to our other rookie 1A, 1B. He is
Hmm.
tied for the rookie lead in points with five.
Hmm.
So a couple of our young guys really stating a case to be regular players in this lineup. And if they keep putting up numbers like that, there's no reason for Coach Marty and his staff to want to take them out of the lineup. They're definitely playing to stay.
Yeah. And I know you agree with me. We are very early in the season. We're only a handful of
Seven,
games in,
yep,
but you know
7
what?
games in.
Still respectable numbers. Do I don't think either one of us expect them to keep up this virtually point a game pace, but you know what I mean? I think it's realistic they could both get 60 points this year.
Yeah, and ultimately, if we get on a better heater, I mean, we're 5-2, which is fantastic. We're tied for the division and the conference lead after 7 games, and things look like they're trending in the right direction.
Mhm.
Obviously, we have to stay healthy. Those players need to stay with their line mates because that's part of the gelling system that makes us effective. When we start to experience the lows of the season, do their future line mates, whether they're subpar on 1 game, 2 games, 3 games, or periods or shifts, all that takes a little bit more of a learning curve, and the younger guys do take a little bit more of a curve to get used to.
Mhm.
But for now, let's ride the wave while it's hot and celebrate that these two guys are pushing each other ultimately.
Yeah, we got lots of exciting hockey that they're playing. They're working well together. Also, that I know you and I talked about it offline. That shift where Demidov and Hudson came out and were playing. I mean, they were passing the puck around like there was nobody else on the ice. They were just unbelievable.
Yeah, it was a 4-on-4 situation, and they cycled the puck along the boards, behind the net, back around the boards, and it was almost an unfair game of keep away.
Yeah,
It's like they were playing with me on the ice. I
yeah,
mean, it was just easy.
yeah.
And when you see young kids having fun and the dangles and the stops and the starts and the changes of direction
Mhm.
with pace, it's fun to watch. I mean,
Yeah,
at some point I was at laughing, saying, "Is there anybody else out there?"
yeah,
Because it just seemed effortless.
yeah.
And that's when you know these guys are special and they're having fun and just their chemistry, and you know that it's just a bigger stage to come, and you hope that this continues. There's no reason why it can't.
Yeah, and it's only going to get better. I mean, what they have together after 7 games can only get better after 70 games. So I think we're both anticipated and exciting for what's to come. Um, with that, we're going to jump real quick right now into the Calgary game preview.
So tonight's game against Calgary, we're roughly 7 o'clock Eastern time. Puck drops in an hour and a half. um, Surprises to come. Maybe this is surprise number one, and I'll lead right into it. Jakub Dobish gets his first back-to-back start, and rightfully so. He's earned it. Monty wasn't great against the Rangers. Admittedly, so wasn't great against the Rangers. Said that the team worked hard in front of him, and he just had to be better. But Dobish followed that up with another great performance. Again, a 935 save percentage. So Marty, for the first time, is given the rookie. I guess he's not quality as far as a number of games to be qualified for a Calder, but still a rookie because he's still young. But he's earned his first back to back with Monty riding the pine. Now we are on a back to back, so we do have Edmonton again. But right now, Calgary, Dobish and net, and I'm looking forward to the Canadians taking a little bit of a full throttle approach tonight. We are a team that skates exceptionally well.
Mhm.
Calgary is a team that hasn't. So there's a little bit of turmoil in Calgary. They're off to a slow start. I think they're in the bottom four teams of the league right now
Yeah, I
with
think
only
they're
one
one in
win.
six.
Yeah, 1 win in 7 games. So not a good time for Nazem Kadri and crew.
Mhm.
And we need to take advantage of it. This is a game where we need to come in again, opening whistle, start to go fast and furious, and play full throttle hockey. 1 foot on the gas pedal and one on their throats.
Yeah. And as a side note, I know you just mentioned about Kadri. Um, I think the 1-6 record really isn't too reflective of what Calgary actually should be. I think they're a better team than what that record reflects. I mean, Dustin Wolf, their goalie, you look at their top six. I think with Kadri and Huberdeau and players like that, I think they're better than a 1-6 record, and I don't want Montreal to take them lightly going into it. I still want to see that hard, play from the opening drop of the puck, skate hard, skate fast, do the transition, don't ease up. That's what I think Montreal needs to do.
Yeah, and we have a lineup that's young, so we shouldn't be losing energy. We should be building on it.
Mhm.
One small other lineup change tonight, and Owen Beck was sent back down. Joshua Waugh draws in. So again, another youthful injection in the lineup, a
Mhm.
chance for Mr. Waugh, not Patrick, no relation to Patrick, but a chance for him to find his feet again and prove that he belongs in the conversation. So, any time where you can change the lineup where somebody else is in, somebody, even if it's one player, has an axe to grind.
Yeah.
But like you said, the other 18 guys wearing the burnt up C. They're not quite as nice as the C we wear.
Mhm.
R stands for champions, cups. I mean, there's lots of acronyms we can make that stand for, but that fizzled out flame is struggling, and we need to throw some more water on it, not some
Yeah.
gas.
Yeah. And real quick, you mentioned about players. Uh, our top our well, I guess what you would say is our top three lines haven't changed, same as previous games. Where the change comes in with the Joshua Waugh call up is he's on a wing with Veleno and Bolduc on the other wing. Um, and you had mentioned Del Gaizo's called up as well. Beck sent back. Del Gaizo is called up. He's a healthy scratch, just kind of getting experience riding the pine for future use where possibly needed. It's easier for them to bring him in on put him in the game if he's already with the team as opposed to doing a call up if needed and having to fly him from Laval. So it's more of a logistical move more than anything. And as you said, Dobesh is getting the start. I'm excited about that. And of course, we still have the Infirmary 3, Goulet, Doc, and Line A collecting air miles over in the Montreal West Wing of the hospital. So I'm excited for tonight's game. I truly am.
Right, and I'm the same. I mean, unfortunately for those three guys, you want them in the lineup, but I'm okay with them not being in the lineup when we're 5-2. I would rather err on the side of caution. So, Valeno, we brought him in for a reason. He's getting game time. His line mate changes, was in. Again, I'm predicting a road win tonight. I think this is opportunity for a 4-1, 3-1 kind of win, something that maybe Calgary scores in the third period, but the wind's out of their sails. I'm looking for another big game from Slavkovsky. He seems to go in bunches where he's all over the score sheet, not just in impact in the game. So I'm looking for that. And, I'm looking for the power play to click along and score again, and hopefully the PK to not get tested a lot tonight, but to shut that down so we build on that as well.
Yeah. And one last thing I want to say about the game is the defensive lineups. I know, with Reinbacher out, it sort of makes life a little bit easier. And with Gooley out, as far as, like we said before, we've had too many defensemen, not enough seats. I like the pairings. I like the way I think Matheson and Dobson, even though they play a very similar game, and actually more than very similar game. I think they've been working well together. Struble and Hudson, I think, is a great pairing. I think Struble sort of frees up some space for Hudson. I mean, he's shifty as fuck, anyways, and can sort of work his way, it seems like, out of the most impossible situation. But I think personally, the most impressive pairing, I love Jack and Carrier together. I just think they're right now, as far as I'm concerned, maybe I'm way off base. I think they're Montreal's best defensive pair right now.
I think defensively they are. You could make the argument that it should be Struble playing down with Carrier and let Jack protect Hudson. I don't think you can go wrong either way. I
Mhm.
think Struble's a slightly better skater, Not a knock to Arbor.
Mhm.
He skates circles around me, but I think you don't try to upset the apple cart when you're only a pairing of two guys. You
Mhm.
can put one forward in and the other two guys cover, but the defense pairings are important. We
Harley's back.
Harley is back. She
Mhm.
wants to I think she wants a speaking role today, so we may get another guest appearance from the diva every once in a while.
Yeah.
She's eager to get involved. But yeah, I like the fact that we're keeping the standard pair, the defensive pair as a defensive pair.
Mhm.
I think they work well together. They balance, and maturity of Carrier gives Arbor a chance to settle into his game a little bit more because he's a little bit of a unicorn, that Mr. Jacko.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think you're right. I think Jackeye or Struble could be swapped in either one, but I like Struble with Hudson better because I think as much as I like Jackeye, one of my favorite players, like all of us, we like that the rough guys, we like that type of hockey. Struble is a better defenseman, I think, a better player than Jackeye. Jackeye obviously brings a different dynamic to the game. So I like the idea of Struble being with Hudson because, Hudson then has a little more skill to play with. And that allows Jackeye to play with Carrier and play to his strong points, which is what I think St. Louis has been very good at as a coach, is setting up these players for success. And when he has those two in the situations that they are at, you see the success they have with it, and that helps them and builds them confidence as well.
Oh, absolutely. And it's all with these young guys. Remember, we are the youngest team in the league.
Mhm.
So how do we play like savvy veterans? It's playing within our limits. Jack Guy's not scoring 50 goals. We're not putting him up there to do that.
Mhm.
He's there to keep everybody at bay.
Mhm.
We know if there's a scrum, all he has to do is put his hand on someone's shoulder, and when they realize it's him, things tend to die down. Yes, there are heavyweights. We know we can go back and look at the calendar. When are we playing Columbus? When are we playing Philly? Olivier and Delorier, they're amped up as well. There's going to be in those games. There's going to be some fists exchanged.
Yeah,
It's not swapping money for Girl Guide cookies. These guys are there to conduct business.
yeah,
So you know it's coming. I'm surprised that Rempe didn't take a run at him just to settle a score, but maybe that kid's maturing into his big ogre body where he knows that you just can't take size for granted, and
yeah.
he got out muscled before. It probably would have happened again.
Yeah, and you can't play stupid either, which is something else that like Jack Eye last year, Jack Eye now, he's playing a much smarter, more disciplined game, picking his spots, things like that. And I think that's all part of uh the Martin St. Louis plan. You know what I mean? He's making these guys play a different game. Like he knows what you can do. I see it with Demidov. We all know what Demidov can do, what his potential is. But St. Louis got him playing a team game where he can, I don't want to say learn, but he can be the defensive player. He can be the back checker, like he had that big burst where he back check on that goal on that play the other night. That's part of
Against
the St.
Chicago.
Louis
Yeah.
genius, as far as I'm concerned, about teaching these young kids how to be NHL players.
And that's what he's done with Caulfield. He's tried to get him to play 200 feet of ice
Mhm.
because in order to transition out of your own zone, you have to have the puck.
Mhm.
We can't, it doesn't fall miraculously on your stick. We are now being able to pass two, three, four times in our own zone, get out, and then we're lights out dangerous down the other end. So play from the back end out, get control of the puck, break out explosively, create chances, and we seem to be doing a good job. And it's led by a coach who believes in his players and setting them up for success. So, start of the road trip, game one, go Habs, go, and let's see if we can carry the momentum on and start to build another winning streak.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think we're going to see a wider goal spread margin. I don't think it's going to be, one goal nail biters. As exciting as it is, it gets hard on the heart. So on that, that pretty much concludes our preview, and we're going to get right into our favorite topic, which is Mr. Guy Lafleur, all Guy all the time. What are your thoughts?
Growing up as a kid, in southern Ontario and Oshawa, Ontario. Back when I was starting to watch Montreal games, a shout out to the Prasad family. They were from Guyana, lived next door to us. They would watch CBC in French, and
Mhm.
I would go around and watch games. So, in order for me to watch Montreal games, I had to watch Channel 13, the French channel,
Mhm.
CBC French. And it was the only way to watch it. My French was very minuscule. Everybody knows the common phrase "et la boue." And, growing up as a kid in the 70s, there was some guy, no helmet, the blonde locks, Le Blond Demon, as they used to call him, and the flower would skate down the right side with those flashy moves and the big heavy shot and score goals. And as a young kid, you look up to the guy that scores the goals. How many kids in Edmonton were Gretzky fans because that sucker scored 90 one year.
Mhm.
Guy Lafleur was that player back in the 70s.
Mhm.
Believe it or not, he had the original record of six straight 50 goal seasons.
Yeah.
He was as electric as anybody else.
Mhm.
And let's be honest, we gave a shout out to Mr. Dryden, who was, dearly departed. He was part of that team. We had some heavyweights, the Larry Robinsons, the Guy Lapointe, Steve Shutt, Serge Savard, Jacques Lemaire. I mean, we were loaded, but Lafleur was the flash.
Mhm. He was the man. And real quick, for those of you that don't know, or maybe you're not numbers people, so Guy Lafleur played 961 games with the Habs, scored 518 goals, 728 assists for 1,246 total points uh, as a Hab, which is, by far above anybody else. I mean, Beliveau was the next with 1,219, but he also played an additional 200 and something games to get that. So I
Yeah.
think that just puts it in perspective that as great a player as we all know that Beliveau was, Guy Lafleur was even that much better.
Yeah, and that was, again, we were rattling off cup wins. He was an all-star. He played on Canada Cup teams. He was your one of your first modern day superstars. So if you grew up watching the game and you were, drawn to players that were different and stood out, Guy was that guy. That chant of Guy, Guy, Guy in the forum. It was bone chilling. The hair would stand up on your arms and the back of your neck, and you just knew when he cycled the puck. And we all know growing up as a young kid, watching CBC episode after episode of Coach's Corner. I love watching Don, but Don was a legendary Bruins coach, and that goal, a Guy taking the slap shot from inside the blue line and finding the twine and
Yeah.
really, it's an infamous goal, but that was Guy.
Yeah. And excuse me, sorry. I think the thing that sets him apart from anybody else really, I mean, you have your Guy Lafleurs, you've got your Mario Lemieux and your, even now Alex Ovechkin's. Guy was a different kind of a player for lots of different reasons. The era he played in was totally different. But I like to when somebody says to me, who's the GOAT, who's the greatest player, who did this the best, who did that the best. I like to listen to what the other players say because as a E Division beer league guy who, was probably better off holding the water bottles instead of playing anyways, I can't comprehend hockey at that level. I mean, I've even refed some higher level, very competitive hockey, but this is a whole nother animal skill wise, and playing it is different too. So when I listen to players like Wayne Gretzky, which a lot of people don't know that Guy Lafleur was Wayne Gretzky's idol when he was a kid. And when you hear him talk about, the things that Gretzky could, or sorry, that Guy Lafleur could do with the puck and did on the ice and was seamless. And you hear guys like Scotty Bowman, who, in my opinion, the greatest hockey coach of all time, the things that he would say about, not having to coach Guy Lafleur. They would have a practice and they would run systems, and he would say, you do whatever you do, Guy, go do your own thing because we know you're going to come out and get, 3, 4 points a game or 2 points a game, and that's just an average day for you. So that I think is really what's most impressive to me is he sort of played by his own drum and did his own thing and was still great.
Yeah, and you're right. Scotty would say to him, you do what you want. He couldn't see him because there was, a cloud of 2 packs of smokes floating around his head, so you couldn't see him anyways. Because
And
when he
that's an
was on his,
actual true story. Hold on a minute.
yeah,
A lot of people think that's one of them urban legends or myths. That's a true story. I know because personally I've seen it. I remember watching a an episode of Hockey Night in Canada, and I remembered I think Don Cherry and Ron McLean talked about it years back on Coach's Corner, where they talked about how Guy Lafleur, he was, had his head down on the bench like this, having a cigarette, and you could
yeah,
see the smoke coming out and from then on, CBC had a directive they could never show Guy Lafleur sitting on the bench again because he'd have the packet de Maurier onto with the ashtray smoking during the game.
yeah. It's not an urban legend. It's true. Scotty Bowman banned smoking in the dressing room. I mean, back in that day, players were smoking. I mean, can you imagine a guy like Connor McDavid smoking 2 packs? I mean, Guy Lafleur was electric and a great skater. And here he is, chain smoking 2 packs a day
Yeah,
as an athlete. Like, I know there's a lot of players. Carey Price was a smoker when he came out of junior, but Carey Price didn't skate up and down the ice and
yeah,
was not on the ice like skating hard for 20 or 22 minutes a game.
yeah.
So Scotty banned smoking. Guy and some of the other players were sneaking them in like schoolboys, not getting caught by the teacher in the school ground, trying to
Yeah,
smoke in the dressing room. I mean,
yeah,
it's funny in today's standards because that's not acceptable anymore. But that was Guy. I mean, Guy did his thing his way, and that's why there's a secondary love of that player for what he did because you just can't fathom how heavy his lungs might have felt at the end of a night.
yeah. And how good and what kind of stats would he have had if he played
If
in
he did,
today's era where there was no smoking? I mean, the fitness training and the prep and pre-game stuff is 1,000 times more now than it was back then. I mean, you could say that really about any player from back then, but I think with Guy, with his smoking and his idea of, never really practice with the team, he'd go out there and skate around and do his own thing, but never had a system where they would, do their breakout plays and do whatever. The other guys were doing that, but Guy was just off doing his own thing.
he was shooting pucks randomly. He just do whatever he wanted, and
Mhm.
first guy out, not first guy off the ice, but one of the first guys out to the bar. Like
Yeah.
he was his own little cult legend. A kid from Thurso, Quebec, growing up in La Belle Province and playing for the Montreal Canadiens. I mean, he was living the dream,
Hmm.
figuratively and literally.
Yeah. And another thing, like I say, I before I like to hear what the other real experts, like guys who played the game, Scotty Bowman and thing like that, had to say about. Um, and Gretzky was always amazed at the speed and the grace of which Guy Lafleur skated. That he could, go from zero to blow by you in 2 strides, and if you didn't have him. If you didn't zone in on Guy Lafleur 3 strides before he started, you were already too late.
Yeah. And those guys were using like 72-pound Sherwood hockey sticks back in the day. I mean, those were like
Yeah,
just raw lumber 2x4s with a blade on it. I mean,
yeah,
these guys, and he was firing the puck like that. I mean, you look at what equipment is now and what they use then and his impact then. I mean, Ovechkin shoots the puck well, but he's got a stick that's got ultra flex and all. Imagine if Lafleur would have had something like that back in the
yeah,
day. Like
yeah.
the numbers he put up, 500 goals in the NHL is a modern day standard
Mhm.
still to this day.
Yeah.
And guys talk about who belongs in the Hall of Fame. What are your credentials? 500 goals, and that was Lafleur.
Mhm.
He was just a cut above 6 straight seasons, 50 goals. That was the first. Just again, one of the reasons I became a Montreal Canadiens fan, and I've
Yeah.
stuck with Guy ever since.
Yeah. Same with me. I think, when you see like you mentioned, Gee skating up the right wing with that speed and he wasn't afraid to do the, weave in and out end to end thing and did it with grace and guys couldn't catch him. And that shot that scored that goal that sent Don Cherry to, you know, I
Another
love hearing that.
the hands in the air and to just
Yeah,
shake
like,
your
what
head,
the hell did
just
I just
believe.
see? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why did I even put anybody on the ice? He used to give him fits, he said.
Yeah, Guy was the reason I wore number 10.
Yeah.
Shout out to all my homies in the south end of Oshawa at Lake Vista Park. I wore number 10 because of Guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, I think uh being the player that he was, being our favorite player, I know I got to meet him, and it was a pretty good thrill. He was coming through Oshawa at the Civic Center. You would remember back when they used to have the NHL alumni play
Yeah.
the police, the Durham Regional Police. I got to go to that. I was pretty excited. I actually got the jersey on here. I can show the number without being you can't see it, but I got to meet him and it was autographed. And I kind of felt like I don't know how to explain it. I'm this grown man of 30 something years old at the time, waiting in line to get autographs. And it's all these kids down there. And I'm this grown man waiting. Listen, I didn't care. Guy was my idol. That was my guy. And I don't care if I was waiting in line with a bunch of 10-year-olds. I was getting to meet him and I did. It was a pretty special night for me.
Yeah, I met Guy at a book signing, believe it or not. He wrote a book or was, co-author of a book, had a signing in a bookstore in Toronto, and I went down and stood in line for about 3 hours just to get a book signed by Guy Lafleur.
Mhm.
Expensive endeavor back in the day to get a hardcover book. I've read it a couple of times over. It again starstruck, as I was in my 20s, and those are players that have true impacts when you just don't know what to say to them.
Mhm.
They've talked to and met thousands and tens of thousands of people. And, he wouldn't remember me if I went and saw him again the next week, but I remembered him and,
Yeah.
it was impactful. But he was that type of player. And, I'm sure, if you took a poll of anybody that falls into our demographic age on who your favorite Montreal Canadian player was, I'm going to say he's probably at the top of most people's lists.
Yeah, 90+% for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
and
he was a legend.
and it's funny you mentioned that about, the being starstruck. When I did finally uh get to see him, what it was they went to after the game, they went to I don't remember what the local bar was, and they do the I think it actually might have been the keg. Um they do you get to meet the players and they do the autograph sessions and they auction off the stuff for charity and all that stuff. And I actually that's how I got the jersey was uh on the auction. I ended up being the highest bidder on the auction, and then you get the chance to go meet him. And I had it personalized, and everybody said, "Oh, why would you get that personalized? You just ruined it. He already had his signature on it, so he had already signed the jersey. I just wanted him to go right, to Sheldon, best of luck, whatever he had writes." And people are saying, "Oh, you shouldn't have done that." I said, "But you don't understand. This wasn't bought because I want it to be, my name on it, having proven that I actually got to meet the man, shake his hand. That was more valuable for me than any dollar value that you could have possibly sold a shirt for."
And you're never going to sell it.
Yeah,
I have a Guy Lafleur rookie card. I will never sell it. I don't care how much it goes up in value. I don't care if it drops in value. It's just one of those things that because of the impact of that player and being a favorite, it doesn't that the book value or the market value is not important. I
yeah,
mean, he's a favorite player, and I have a couple of signed things on my wall of memorabilia, and he just holds that special place. I did try to convince my wife to name our only son Guy. Didn't work out. She wouldn't buy it. I'm lucky I got Dryden in the mix, but she wouldn't let me name him Guy. So
mhm.
I had to settle with Dryden.
That's all right. That's a pretty good guy too.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a 1A 1B kind of thing, but they were my two favorite players. Guy was, I was a forward. It felt like I was probably skating in quicksand compared to what that guy did on the ice, but I was a fan nonetheless, and he hooked me in, and it's red, white, and blue forever now.
Yeah. And one quick thing before we move on to final thoughts. When I finally did get I got the shirt and the jersey, and I remember walking up, and I still distinctly remember seeing him sitting in the corner. He had Steve Shutt next to him. He had who else was there? There was a bunch. I think Cornway was sitting across from him at the same table. And I remember going up, and I was just like a bumbling buffoon, right? And
Yep.
he kind of chuckled, and he looked up at me and he goes, "It's okay." And I said, "Pardon?" He goes, "It's okay. Would you like me to sign your jersey?" Of course, with his French accent, "Would you
Yeah.
like me to sign my jersey?" I said, "Yes, sir." I said, "It would be an honor." Right? I said, "You're my uh, boyhood idol. You're the reason I like the Habs and, everything, all of us that usually fumble over our words while we're stuffing our left and right foot in and out of there." And I just remembered he got such a chuckle out of that. You know, a grown man, 6 feet, 200 pounds, acting like a absolute idiot over this man that was, he's just a man. I mean, he happened to be a great hockey player, and it just made me chuckle that I made him chuckle.
Yeah, I mean these hockey players are people too, right? They all put their pants on the same way. They
Mhm.
just put on more expensive pants because they're celebrities
Yeah,
in their own way. But yeah, he was a class act when I met him, and again, he wasn't trying to rush every person there to buy the book and go get stand in line for hours and then wait. He was willing to give you time if you had a conversation, and it was fantastic, a class act. And just again one of the true greats of the game, transitioning the game out of the 50s and the 60s to bring it more mainstream when expansion started. And he was just electric. He was one of the league's poster boys. Again, not wearing a helmet when players started doing that as well. And he tried that goofy little hard shell Jofa thing that looked like he was a spaceman
yeah.
falling off the back of a motorcycle, but it didn't last long, that's for sure.
You know why Guy Lafleur never wore a helmet? Because it would have crushed the cigarette behind his ear.
Yeah, true story. I mean, he wouldn't have had one on the bench,
Yeah.
like,
Uh,
but yeah, Guy forever. You go down there and once you're in Montreal, you see the monument outside. There's memorabilia all around. There's just
yeah.
memories of him that'll last a lifetime. Mine, my kids, grandkids. He's just that kind of an impactful player.
Yeah. What was the name of that book again do you remember?
I'd have to, I'll have to, we'll put a link and a
Yeah,
picture of the book. I'll dig it out. It's probably over on the shelf over there. I'm not going to go rummage through all my stuff to try and find it, but we'll post a
that's what
couple
we'll
of
do. We'll get
pictures.
the name of it. I'll put a link down in the comments, and we'll invite everybody to go and buy the book and have a read and maybe get a little more insight onto the man himself.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Google
I,
doesn't do him justice, that's for sure.
that's for sure. Yeah. Final thoughts. I'm actually going to go with my final thoughts first. I just have a couple real quick things I want to say. Um, Two things I think that impacted me the most about Guy Lafleur. One was the grace and speed at which he skated. You know, he wasn't Wayne Gretzky, he wasn't Mario Lemieux, but on his own thing, he was a fast skater and could do the things at such a high rate of speed and made it look so easy. I think that's what a lot of people don't understand is Guy Lafleur didn't look so fast because he made it look too easy. Smoking 2 packs a day and skating at elite speed like that is just astounding. But one of the most uh, influential things in my life that stands out even to this day, and I get a little lump in the throat thinking about it, is the very famous picture of Guy Lafleur kneeling down at Bellevaux's coffin at his funeral in church when he was on in the viewing of the church. I think obviously it's because of what Guy Lafleur meant to me. And Jean Beliveau was my mom's favorite player, so I think maybe that generational connection. That is a very and I'll bring it up here uh, in the comment or in the video here shortly of that picture of Guy Lafleur kneeling down at Bellevaux's coffin. Very powerful image for me.
Yeah, I mean, Guy Lafleur was, again, broken record, favorite player. Why was Guy special? You gain an appreciation when players do things, and when they do it easy, you get starstruck, you get guffawed, you can whatever name you want to throw in there. He just was a consummate professional. When he scored, he celebrated. When somebody else scored, he celebrated, and it wasn't over the top. He wasn't, he was a dominant player. He didn't have to rub it in your face. He embraced the whole team atmosphere. And yes, he was my favorite player, but as I got older and I read his book and I met him and you hear the stories, he was a legend because he was created to be a celebrity back in the endorsement days, and he handled everything very well. He embraced it, and back when they were doing cheesy, shirt and pant fittings and doing all kinds of style wardrobe things, he did about everything. I think maybe the only endorsement he didn't have was a tobacco advertisement because I don't think he really had a favorite brand. He probably did, but he was just the guy, and he was talented and love him. And then again, you touched base on how classy he was, the Belleville funeral. It's sort of like the passing of the torch and appreciating the founding fathers that were before him, and he came in just as Belleville was coming out, and that man probably had a very strong impact on how Lafleur proceeded coming in as a kid with all this talent.
For sure. And so that'll wrap up today's topic. Again, I hope this, for those of you listening, all 11 subscribers now, maybe get a little more insight into who he was in shaping you and I both as fans of Guy and of the Canadians and of the game of hockey. I mean, it was a huge impact. So on that note, we will skip right on to the trivia answer.
Trivia answer. Believe it or not, we always like to think legends play one team their whole career. Guy Lafleur played for three teams. So he
Mhm,
retired. He came back out of retirement and skated with the New York Rangers and the Quebec Nordiques.
mhm.
You know, um, Even after taking 3 years off, put up respectable numbers, all things considering. So three teams, Montreal for the lion's share, the Rangers and the Quebec Nordiques.
Yeah. Yeah, very interesting, and you're right. He did put up good numbers, and people don't understand. He retired. He was out of the game for 3 years. I mean, that's a long time for somebody to come out of the game to come back in and still be a fairly effective player.
That's a lot of darts.
Maybe yeah, need to
You
get his
know,
cigarette
it,
quota up.
yeah, his
Yeah,
career went up in smoke,
yeah,
literally.
yeah.
But
Anyways, on that thought, on that note, again, thanks for watching episode number 10 in honor of our guy, Guy Lafleur. Hope you enjoy watching this as much as Steve and I have making it and pre production discussions and all the other good stuff that goes with us. So thanks again. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, comment, send us your thoughts. We're only more than receptive for that. And as Steve always says,
keep your stick on the ice.